The ARPU meme coin on the Ethereum chain is crashing today. We did see a lot of gains in the last week. Now we are dipping down. Does it make sense to buy the dip? Let's have a look at the buyers and sellers. Let's have a look at some on-chain data most people are not considering. Now, I made a video on ARPU 1 month ago, and the video didn't perform that well. The gray area is an average video. The blue line is the ARPU video. But that's the problem with the YouTube algorithm. When a token isn't yet well known, you don't get a lot of exposure. But have a look at the ARPU chart. This is when that video was published. Since then, the price went up by roughly 600%. And what we're seeing in the last few hours, that's what I'm referring to with the crash, down 25%. If you want to be early next time, then feel free to follow channels like this. I publish videos regularly. Now, ARPU isn't that small anymore. When we look at the Ethereum chain and we order all assets on the entire chain by liquidity, then ARPU is already at place number 24. So there's 3.2 million worth of liquidity, and that's due to the massive rally that happened in the last weeks. Now here's the problem with early projects, right? When we buy a token, just say 1 week after launch, there is the real risk of getting potentially rug pulled. So there are various tools to try to mitigate that risk, right? We want to make the best risk adjusted bets. We want to reduce risk as much as possible while keeping the upside high. One tool that I personally like to use is dextools.io. So when you go on this website, you search for a token address and you go here to the bottom left and you click on check audits. There we can see the potential issues with a token, and ARPU looked pretty clean. More often than not, you do get some red over here. You get your buy and sell tags, you get a modifiable tags. In the worst case, you even get a honeypot alert. So that means you can buy the token, but the smart contract doesn't allow you to sell it. Make sure that for any new unknown token that you consider trading, that you potentially found on dexscreener.com, that you also run this through dextools.io. Now, how does the market look like? Does it make sense to still buy into ARPU? How many people still get on the token? Why is the price currently crashing? Is this because retail is selling? Is this because the whales are taking profit? What's going on here? Have a look at this. This is the change in total value locked, so in the capital locked up in the chain for the largest 10 blockchains. And have a look, in the last month there weren't too many winners. Bitcoin gained quite a bit because of the ordinals trading, but besides that it's mainly the base chain and the Binance Smart Chain that take all the profit. There's also Merlin, but Merlin is very risky and is still very small, only 8 protocols here. And so have a look at Ethereum, where ARPU is housed. Ethereum isn't doing that great. In fact, when we compare the Ethereum market share over time, we've seen first how a lot of competitors gained more and more. Then Terra Luna collapsed. That's this yellow area over here. But since that collapse, Ethereum hasn't gained any ground whatsoever. It stays at around 58% of market share. So by trading meme coins on Ethereum, you're not just paying the high gas fees, you're also betting on a chain that seems to not really gain momentum against its competitors. It does make sense to potentially focus more on the base chain right now. But again, let's have a look at buyers versus sellers for ARPU on the Ethereum chain. What we've got over here is the number of retail investors versus the number of whales. So on the left side, we've got the number of wallets that hold roughly 1.8 million ARPU tokens. So that's roughly $1,000 at current prices. That's what I'd consider small retail. In the middle, we've got a minimum holding threshold that's 10x from the left chart. So that's now medium-sized retail, a minimum holding of $10,000. On the right side, we've got the whales. That's a minimum holding of $100,000. What do we see here? We see that the whales bought in the earliest. We saw that the medium-sized whales took a bit longer to accumulate, and we see that for retail, they're even slower than that. So the whales finished their purchasing pretty much on the 17th of March, while the number of retail investors still grew by another 3x. So let's look at the price since the 17th of March. That's over here. So what we can tell for sure is that all of this price appreciation here is 100% driven by retail, not anymore by the whales. Now let's have a look at just the last month. In the last month, ARPU went up by 470%. The number of whale wallets went down slightly by 2% or so. The number of medium-sized retail grew by a bit more than 20%. The number of retail investors grew by more than 60%. But yeah, there is a bit of a problem with this chart, right? The number of retail investors isn't growing as quickly anymore. We shot up since beginning of April, but since the 14th of April, so in the last 10 days or so, that growth has slowed down a lot. The 14th of April is over here. So we don't yet see a crash in the price since that point in time. But I would not be surprised whatsoever if now people that took this rally are starting to also take some profit now. The momentum simply isn't the same anymore. So again, this is what meme coin speculation is all about. You want to be early. You don't want to buy when the whales aren't touching the token anymore. You want to buy with retail adoption. And unfortunately, that's slowing down for APU. Thus, I believe it's a good time to take profit, at least partially. The risk to reward is probably better in other places. Feel free to give this a like to support the channel to help it grow. Feel free to also check out Premium, where you can get access to this tool, also a tutorial video on how to use this. You can plug in any Ethereum token, any Base token, any Binance Smart Chain token in this tool and look at those numbers. If your crypto portfolio doesn't yet justify Premium, there's also a free Telegram. Link is as well down below.